Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you, so let's begin. My name is Nate, and this story is about the night I thought would change my life forever. The night I had planned down to the last detail. The night I was supposed to propose to the woman I thought I would spend the rest of my life with. I was excited, nervous, but mostly, I was sure that I was making the right decision. For months, I had been planning this proposal. Every moment we had shared together led up to this. Lena and I had been together for years, and in my mind there was never a question about where we were headed. We met during college, and even though we started as friends, things naturally grew into something more. We started dating a year ago. She was smart, beautiful, and had this way of making me feel like the luckiest guy in the world. At least, that's what I thought at the time. I had spent weeks searching for the perfect ring. Something elegant but simple, something that fit her perfectly, just like we fit together. That evening I finally picked it up. Holding that small velvet box in my hands, I could already imagine the look on her face when I got down on one knee. I imagined her gasping, covering her mouth with her hands before finally saying yes. It felt like everything was falling into place. Little did I know, everything I believed was about to be ripped apart. I gathered a few of our closest friends, the ones who had been there for us throughout our relationship. They were all excited, just like me. We had talked about this plan for weeks, making sure every detail was right. I pictured the moment clearly in my head. Lena's shocked expression, the joy in her eyes, the way she would cover her mouth in disbelief before finally saying yes. That's how it was supposed to go. We arrived at Lena's house that evening. The air felt electric, like something big was about to happen. My friends were in on the surprise, and they waited outside, trying to keep their excitement contained. They had their phones ready to capture the moment, ready to celebrate the beginning of what was supposed to be the next chapter of my life. I could barely contain my nerves. I was about to ask the woman I loved to be my wife. Instead of knocking on the door like I normally would, I decided to make the proposal even more special. I wanted to catch Lena completely off guard. So I took out the spare key she had given me a long time ago, her way of showing that she trusted me, that I was always welcome in her space. I turned the lock, slowly pushing the back door open, careful not to make a sound. As I stepped inside, my heart was racing. I could already see how it would play out in my head. Lena would be completely surprised. At first, she'd be confused, wondering why I was suddenly in her house unannounced. Then I will ask her to come outside, and when she turned and saw our friends standing outside, before she could even ask what was going on, I'd be down on one knee, holding out the ring, and her face would light up. With our mutuals watching everything unfold, she'd realize just how much thought I had put into this. It would be our moment. That's how I imagined it. That's how it was supposed to happen. But life doesn't always go according to plan. I stepped inside as quietly as I could, my heart racing, not from nerves, but from excitement. But before I could even reach the living room, I heard her voice. It came from down the hall, soft and intimate, the kind of tone she never used with me. I stopped in my tracks, my excitement fading into curiosity. Who was she talking to? I moved a little closer, standing just outside her bedroom door. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I just wanted to wait for her to finish, so I wouldn't interrupt her conversation. But as I listened, my stomach twisted. After this weekend, I'll figure out how to let him down easy. You're the one I want, not him. He'd never forgive me, but who cares? I froze. My mind went blank, like someone had just wiped away every thought and replaced it with static. Did I hear that right? Maybe I imagined it. Maybe she was talking about something else, someone else. I stood there, trying to replay her words in my head, hoping I misunderstood. But no, it was clear. She was talking about me. She was choosing someone else. The ring box in my pocket felt heavier. All this time, I had been planning our future, picturing what our life would look like together. But for Lena, I was just temporary. My breathing felt uneven. Why was she playing with me? Was I not good enough? Had this been going on for weeks? Months? Had anything between us ever been real? I couldn't stay there another second. I turned around and walked out the way I came in, my legs moving on instinct. I didn't even feel like I was in my own body anymore. Everything felt numb. As soon as I stepped outside, my friends saw me. Their smiles immediately dropped. "Dude, what happened?" One of them asked, grabbing my arm. I shook my head. My voice barely came out. "I just need to go." The concern in their eyes was obvious, but I couldn't stay and explain. Not now. And then, from inside the house, I heard her footsteps. Lena must have heard the noise, must have realized something was wrong. When she reached the front door, she stopped dead in her tracks. She knew. I had been there. I had heard everything. Her expression twisted into panic. "Nate!" she shouted, rushing toward me, but it was too late. I was already gone. That night, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. I glanced at the screen, and there it was, Lena's name. For a second, I just stared at it, my mind blank. I had spent the last few hours trying to process everything, trying to push everything out of my head. I could have ignored it. I should have. But I didn't. Curiosity, anger, maybe even some pathetic part of me that still wanted answers, made me pick up. I took a breath, steadied myself, and then swiped to answer. Her voice came through, light and cheerful, like nothing had happened. "Hey, babe. I heard from the guys that you came over tonight. And, oh my God, were you really going to propose?" I felt my stomach twist. She was pretending. She knew exactly what had happened, but she was acting like she was clueless. Like she hadn't been caught. Was she serious? Did she really think I hadn't heard her? That I didn't know? Or was this just another one of her games? Another attempt to control the narrative? I let the silence stretch, forcing myself to keep my breathing even. I wasn't going to give her the reaction she wanted. I wasn't going to explode, scream, or beg for an explanation. She didn't deserve that kind of energy from me. When she realized I wasn't responding, she spoke again. "What happened?" Her voice was softer now, fake concern dripping from every word. I exhaled slowly, my tone calm but sharp enough to cut. "Yeah, something went wrong." Silence. I pictured her standing there, holding the phone, scrambling for her next move. Maybe she was going to fake cry. Maybe she'd try to turn it on me. Maybe she'd try to convince me that I had misunderstood. But I wasn't giving her the chance. "I'm done, Lena." With everything. I didn't wait for a response. Didn't give her time to say anything else. I hung up. I spent the next few days in a haze, barely able to think straight. It wasn't just heartbreak, it was the kind of betrayal that made me question everything. How could I have been so blind? The first thing I did was shove the ring into a drawer out of sight because every time I saw it, my stomach twisted. That ring was supposed to mean forever. Now it was nothing more than a reminder of what I almost walked into. Deleting the pictures was harder than I expected. Years of memories, gone in seconds. Every trip, every holiday, every candid moment we shared, it all felt fake now. Still, I forced myself to hit delete. Keeping them would only make it harder to move on. I thought I was done dealing with her. I was wrong. A few days later, my phone rang. It was Lena's parents. At first, I hesitated to pick up. What could they possibly want? Against my better judgment, I answered. Her mom's voice was soft, hesitant. "Nate, we just heard from Lena. She told us you ended things." She was crying. "We just wanted to understand what happened." I closed my eyes, taking a slow breath. Of course, she would spin the story. Of course, she would make herself the victim. I should have expected this. "Did she tell you why?" I asked, my voice steady. A pause. Then her dad sighed. "She said she did nothing." I almost laughed at how ridiculous that was. I forced myself to stay calm. "She didn't tell you the truth then?" I told them everything. The proposal. The phone call. The other guy. I kept my voice even and factual. No anger, no yelling, just the truth. When I finished, the line was silent. Finally, Her dad spoke, his voice heavy. We had no idea. Of course they didn't. Lena was good at pretending. She had everyone fooled. We'll get to the bottom of this, her mom said. I didn't need them to. It was already over. But part of me wondered, if they had known the real her all along, would they have warned me or warned her to stop? About a week after everything happened, I was finally starting to feel a little bit better. The first few days had been a mess, anger, confusion, sleepless nights. But now I wasn't thinking about Lena as much. Or, at least, that's what I told myself. Then my phone rang. I glanced at the screen and saw Maya's name. Lena's best friend. I almost let it go to voicemail. I hadn't spoken to Maya since the proposal day, and honestly, I didn't want to deal with anyone connected to Lena. But something in my gut told me to answer. So I did. Her voice was serious from the start. No small talk, no fake concern, just straight to the point. Nate, you need to know something. I didn't respond right away. I just waited. My heart was already pounding because deep down, I knew whatever she was about to say was going to make everything worse. Maya took a breath. Lena wasn't just cheating on you, she said. She was living a double life. My grip on the phone tightened. What do you mean? She wasn't just with that guy, behind your back. She's been doing this for months. And it's not the first time. She's done this before, Nate. In every relationship. I felt my stomach drop. She keeps a backup guy, Maya continued. Every time. She never fully commits to anyone until she's sure which guy is better for her. I couldn't even speak. I just sat there trying to process it. Maya kept going. She was never going to tell you. The plan was to let you propose, then decide later if she actually wanted to go through with it. But the other guy? He was never serious about her. He just wanted their flings. He never planned to date her, let alone marry her. And there it was. The truth I didn't know I needed to hear. I felt empty knowing Lena never saw me as a real person. She never loved me the way I loved her. I was just an option. A safety net. The signs were all there. The way she was distant sometimes, but sweet when she needed to be. The way she never made long-term plans, but still strung me along. And now, she had lost everything. I exhaled, my hand still gripping the phone. Maya was still on the line, waiting for me to say something. But there was nothing left to say. I thanked her for reaching out and ended the call. I finally understood. After everything, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let this break me. Yeah, it hurt. Yeah, it messed with my head for a while. But I refused to let Lena's betrayal define me. So, I threw myself into work. I focused on my goals, the things I had put on hold while I was busy trying to build a future with someone who never really saw me in hers. I picked up old hobbies and reconnected with friends, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was living for myself. Then one afternoon my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. It was Lena. A single message. Can we talk? I stared at it for a moment. Not because I wanted to respond, but because of how predictable it was. She had lost her backup plan. She had gambled and lost. And now she wanted to talk. I didn't even open the message. I smiled, blocked her number, and moved on. Some love stories aren't meant to have a happy ending. And you know what? That's okay. Because not every ending needs to be wrapped in a bow. Sometimes, the real happy ending is choosing yourself over someone who never really chose you. What do you guys think? Have you ever been in a situation like this? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and share if this story hits home for you. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Hello everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got another brand new story to share with you, so let's begin. You know, when you love someone, you assume the best in them. Even when things get rough, you hold on to hope. You tell yourself, this is just a phase, we'll figure it out. That's what I did. My name is Duke, and I'm not going to sit here and act like my marriage was perfect. It wasn't. I had my own struggles. My business was failing, money was tight, and I was constantly stressed, trying to keep things together. Cassandra and I weren't as close as we used to be, and yeah, I noticed the distance. But I never thought for a second that she was pulling away because there was someone else. So I decided to do something about it. Our anniversary was coming up, and I figured maybe we just needed a moment, something to remind us why we fell in love in the first place. I planned a nice dinner, somewhere special. I wanted to make her feel cherished again, to show her that even though life had been hard, I was still here. What I didn't know was that Cassandra had already found her happiness elsewhere. The night before our anniversary, we were just at home, unwinding after a long day. I was sitting on the couch, and she was lying back, half watching something on TV. The night before our anniversary, we were at home, going about our usual routine. Cassandra had just grabbed a towel and was heading to the bathroom for a shower when I asked, "What are we eating tonight?" She paused in the doorway, glancing over her shoulder. "Just use my phone and order our regular stuff," she said casually before disappearing into the bathroom. It was a simple moment, something that had happened countless times before. But fate has a cruel way of playing with people. As I unlocked her phone, a message notification popped up at the top of the screen. And in one single moment, everything in my life shifted. "Damn, babe, I'll miss you this weekend. But I get it, anniversary and all. Can't wait to see you next week." I read it again. Then again. My mind went blank for a second. The shock was so overwhelming that my brain refused to process it. Without even thinking, my hands moved. I clicked the message and opened the chat, and that's when I saw it all. I wasn't prepared. The messages stretched back for months. Every conversation was filled with excitement, desire, and worst of all, intimacy. My wife had told this man that she wouldn't be available over the weekend because of our anniversary. And him? He wasn't upset. He understood. He was patient. He was already making plans for their next meetup. I kept scrolling. My fingers were trembling, but I couldn't stop. Each message I read took another piece of my heart and crushed it. She had been living out fantasies with him. There were things in those messages that I never even thought she'd be interested in. Things I know she would never have done with me. That was when I realized this wasn't just a mistake. It wasn't a one-time thing, a slip-up. She had built an entire secret life with this man. And yet, every night, she came home to our bed. Anger surged through me, but I knew I needed proof. Moving quickly, I began taking screenshots of every message, every picture, every sickening detail of their conversations. As soon as I was done, I transferred everything to my own phone, securing it in case she tried to delete the evidence later. When I finally put her phone down, my heart was still pounding. The truth was now mine to hold, but what I would do with it, I wasn't sure yet. I felt my whole world tilt. But I didn't react. Not yet. Cassandra, meanwhile, had finished her shower and was in front of the mirror, going through her usual night routine, moisturizing her skin, tying her hair up, completely at ease. She hummed softly to herself, oblivious to the storm brewing just a few feet away. She had no idea. After reading those messages that night, everything changed. My life would never be the same again. I could have confronted her right then and there. I could, but I didn't. I needed to think through the whole thing before saying a thing. I needed to think. I needed to breathe. I walked into the living room. I grabbed the remote, turned on the TV, and tried to focus on anything that wasn't the reality crashing down around me. But no matter what played on the screen, my mind was consumed by the things I just saw. When it was finally bedtime, I still couldn't bring myself to go into that room. The thought of lying beside her, of feeling her warmth next to me, knowing what she had been doing behind my back, it made my stomach turn. I stayed on the couch, lost in my thoughts. But as the night dragged on and I assumed she had fallen asleep, I finally stood up. Slowly, I walked to the bedroom, dreading every step. As we were in bed, she rolled over toward me, resting a hand on my chest. Then she lifted her head slightly and leaned in to kiss me goodnight. I pulled away and didn't know when these words slipped from my mouth. I'd kiss you, but I don't want to taste your boyfriend. Cassandra froze, her lips hovering inches from mine. Her eyes, still heavy with sleep, widened in an instant. Then, slowly, she pulled back. What are you talking about? She stammered, her voice shaky, her expression carefully blank. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because of how predictable she was. How quickly she slipped into denial mode, as if she thought she could gaslight her way out of this. I didn't bother playing along. I stood up, reached over to my nightstand, picked up my phone, and opened the folder where I had saved everything. Then, in the same calm voice, I started reading. Line by line, word for word, her own words, her messages to him. I barely got through the first few messages before she cracked. She lunged for my phone, desperate to grab it away. Wait, just let me explain.